Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to my cybersecurity show here at my lovely studio here in my house. I'm glad you joined me today, and thanks for stopping by. This is going to be a fun little episode we've got for today because we had a lot of people ask me, "Can you please show this stuff? I want to see this." And you're like, "Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?" I don't know, a week or two ago, I guess. Maybe more. I'm not great at keeping a good schedule. I'm so sorry on my social media stuff. But a little while ago, I was messing around with how do I do some living off the land or maybe like some phishing and stuff. Well, basically what I wanted to do was have a reverse shell from a Windows machine, fully updated, fully patched, whole nine, right? How do I do that? Because Meterpreter just gets busted, right? I mean, I know there's ways to get around that. I'm working on that. I'm not great at that yet. So I'm like, well, are there other ways in which I could possibly make this happen? There are. I can use Python, which I've done in the past, but that's not necessarily living off the land, right? Well, it could be. There might be Python installed. But I thought PowerShell, right? PowerShell's on there. Not the best PowerShell person on earth. Honestly, I find that language a bit cumbersome for me. It's weird, it's strange, it's an exotic type of thing. It's just not my cup of tea, right? But understanding it a bit will help me do some stuff. And I want to show you, I'll just go ahead and jump into the computer screen. I know it's a little early, right? But look at that. So I'm in my Kali Linux machine, and you'll notice I have a PowerShell prompt, right? I do a who am I got my hacks box. This is my Lenovo. This is the actual machine that we're looking at today. And, dir commands. Hey, look at that. There's some shotcut and OBS and Atom and games. And so this is my desktop because that's where this lovely update script is residing that allowed me to accomplish this wonderful feat of modern technology. I'm going crazy with my scroll. But this is what I wanted to show you was how did I do this? How did I make this happen? And that's what everybody was asking me for. Hey, could you show us your script that made this occur, that I could get this reverse shell? Here I am on Kali, logged into my local Windows machine. That is the machine that's the laptop that's running my OBS software that allows me to record and all the other great stuff. So I said, sure, why not? Let me get that. I had a couple things I wanted to get to first, which is why we are now coming here today. And I'll kind of just really quickly walk you through what I did to make this work and get it to go, and how you could maybe take that little bit. I'm not the best at this. There are better obfuscations and things that we're going to take a look at to make this work better. But I mean, it works fine, obviously. It's doing the job. But if anybody had a prying eye, they would see, oh, that's a little weird. Just wanted to show you. So figured share with my friends, because sharing is caring, as they say. Okay, before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, right? And don't forget to share, right? Because sharing is caring. Hit the notification bell if you want to see more of this stuff when it comes out as it drops. So there you go. All the other things. Oh, one more thing. Comments, right? Leave your comments. If you got cool ways, better ways, I'm sure you do. I am not a professional at doing this. I want to get better at it, which is why I'm doing this with you good folks right now. Is I want to be better at this. But this does work, and I figured maybe you're just starting out at trying to figure out how would I use PowerShell? How would I use something else? What are some of the concepts and techniques that are common to making something like this work? So when I throw that Meterpreter shell at something and it gets busted by Windows Defender, and a little single tear runs down my face because that didn't work, and it's so frustrating, right? That I'd be able to help you all out with that. Okay. So now to the meat and potatoes. How did I make this work? Back to the computer here. Well, first thing we're going to do is going to close this out, right? So I'll just exit my PowerShell, right? And I'll clear the screen. So what we're doing here is I've got some files. There are all the files I need to make this work. So there's 4 of them. Not horrible, right? Just a couple of them. And I kind of broke things up for the very reason of making it more difficult for things to get processed through antivirus, specifically Windows Defender and amsi. let's see here. What's the best way to go throughout this? Let's start with the update script itself. This little person right here. Because if we go back to, this is my Windows desktop, there is the update script right there. Hello, little guy, bang, little box around it. And then we'll talk about what techniques I would use to get that script onto someone's machine. I'll give you a hint. It's called phishing, right? But it's a very useful and it works really well. So that's the update script. Let's take a look at that. I'll just nano update script. You'll notice it's a one-liner because it's only on one line. Well, I guess technically it's two-liners. You got the echo off, but it is just like a batch script. Now, the cool thing about the batch scripts is you can label them .cmd and they work. .bat I thought might be weird for somebody, specifically when it comes to the phishing idea behind it. But you'll notice I got a lot of weird things happening in here. And honestly, this one didn't work. I actually had to modify this, but this was where I started. So I'm going to show you where it began, what I thought was going to work, and then you have to work your way around because I don't know all the cool stuff yet. At least not in my person, right? Not inside. I haven't absorbed it. I'm trying. But you'll notice all these like double quotes, right? So I've got double quote together. Neat thing about that is that Windows just goes if there's nothing in between it, then there's nothing there. And it skips over and actually will continue to concatenate everything around it together. So this ends up being PowerShell instead of PowerShell, right? Very strange. And it kind of looks weird to the eye. So, anything that would be regexing or things of that nature, it would break it up and try to evade any kind of filtering that's looking for the word PowerShell. You'll also notice I have a mix of upper and lowercase characters here. All right, now, honestly, I can show you what to do here. I'll fix this one. We'll go ahead and kind of like clean this up because I don't know why I kept it around like this. I think I actually fixed it on the Windows machine itself. So a little cheat, but it's easy enough fix. Now, beyond this, you'll notice I've got a -NOP, but it's got the double quotes in between the OP. This is a way to say no profile, right? And then -C is command we're going to execute. Now that does need to start with a single quote. There's no, or a single double quote. This is getting confusing. You only have one double quote there because that's how you have to wrap up what command you're going to throw at your Windows box, especially if there's spaces and things of that nature. You've got to enclose that in quotes. But then I started doing all this. Now, I'm going to take these out. I think you can also do things like this and maybe even double these. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to look into that. But I think you can do that as well. But I'm going to just start taking these double quotes because it actually confused the script. It was like, hey, you don't have a closing double quote tag. Where's that? It kind of yelled at me. It still works, obviously. Windows Defender didn't care that this was just barely obfuscated, right? So I'm just taking these double quotes out of here because it's messing up that. It's doing what's called expansion and it's messing it up. So we can only have, I don't know if single quotes works. Like if I could do double single quotes, that would be cool. But I'll test that later, right? And then, don't worry, we'll come back to this. All right, everything looks good now. Okay, so what is happening here? I'm doing IEX, which is invoke expression, new object, net.web client. Sometimes you'll see, I think it's system.net.web client. So I truncated that off, another way to try to like beat filtering. And again, upper and lower casing that is occurring here. So basically what this says is, you'll notice this part here, download string. I'm downloading a file. This is kind of like PowerShell's version of wget, right? You just have to type all this convoluted mess in. And after you've done it a couple of 100 times, which I have, you'll get decent at it. And then you put your URL, right? So I've got HTTP. This is my attack machine. This is the Kali machine's IP address. So if it was DNS, honestly, if this was like a real thing, I wasn't in a test environment, I would put this in AWS or maybe use a some form of obfuscation for that, to where it's resolving to a cloud provider. And therefore, I could just use that DNS in there. And that would even obfuscate this even more, because it's like anybody that's looking at it would go, oh, yeah, it's going to, I don't know, GitHub or something. And so if I put those files in GitHub, that would work a whole lot better. All right, and then it's downloading this file. I can't really, because of stinking overscroll. Here's what I'll do. I'm just going to kind of drop this down to the next line really quickly so you can see this. So it's downloading this file called WinSecurityUpdate. Seems legit, right? And that goes along with the idea of our social engineering phishing thought process on someone needs to download this. If anybody was paying attention at least a little bit, they might just, oh yeah, it's a Windows update. That's cool. You know, that's the idea anyway. I could be totally off my rocker on that, but all right, let me put that back. All right, Control S, Control X. So there you go. There's the update script itself. And of course, we can verify that by right-clicking and edit. And of course, on the other screen, there it is. So there you go. Right? Looking good. Bam. All right, so now we know what that does and what that is. So that's script file number 1. Let's see here. What are we on to? Go back to Kali here. Next we have, well, let's go to WinSecurityUpdate. What the heck is that? Well, that is the script that actually starts to do stuff. By stuff, I mean fun, right? So let's see here. I will, you know what I'll do? I'll do you one better. I'll make this a little easier here. I think I would have a mouse pad. WinSecurityUpdate. Aha! Look at that. And now we won't have to use the terminal. I will expand. You'll notice this is a little more weird and complex, and yet you might be able to see a little bit of what's going on. So, my thought process, again, phishing, social engineering, was to say, you know, attach this file to an email posing as an MSSP, right? A managed security, what is it? The managed security service provider? Managed security service provider. I think that's how that goes. I'm not great with acronyms. And I'm with the MSSP or the MSP or whatever, you know, find out who that is, do your little recon, all the stuff you got to do. And then say, I've been contacted by your tech support, and your tech support is telling me that there's an update on your machine that is just not applying. Can't figure out what's going on. Maybe even a phone conversation with this person. Maybe not even an email yet, right? Again, if I was doing this as like a red team operation, I would say, yeah, so we're having trouble getting that up. So they contacted us and trying to recruit our help with this. So I'm working with Bob and Tom and Sally over in your IT department. Do your recon, find out if those names are legit. And they'll go, oh, okay, yeah. And we're just scratching our heads on this. I've been working on it. I think I've got something that will finally resolve this issue. I'm going to send you an email real quick. Let me know if you get it. Bang, send them the email, right? They get the email, as long as they're AV. And of course, we can throw this through, virus total and everything like that to make sure that it is circumventing antivirus systems. Yeah, now you've got the email. Awesome. Or maybe give them a direct download link, right? Boom. So hopefully if they're just running Windows Defender, I mean, I know this works on Windows Defender. I haven't checked it on anything else. Just Windows Defender. There's my asterisk for this. So, okay, now that you got the file downloaded, this script should fix the issue with your computer that's stopping it from reaching out to the update server, and then download the update file, and then automatically, all you got to do is double click the file, right? All right, are you ready? And then you go, yeah, okay, you've got the file. Go ahead and download that if it prompts you saying, hey, this is an unknown vendor, because it's a custom script. It doesn't have it, right? So you're kind of talking your way, just hand waving people, tell them to hit the I believe button. And if you sound convincing enough, they'll probably do it, right? And if your email is convincing enough, they'll probably do it. So a phishing campaign, maybe some actual, like a vishing, like where I voice call people and were to try to get them to install this file. Maybe do a USB drop, that kind of stuff. All those things are on the table, fair game. If I have another vulnerability vector, I could get that. That would be great. All right, back to the story. Now that that's happening, that's what all this, that's all to say, that's what this is doing. When they double click the file, this is all they should see. Preparing the system for an update. And then I've just put these sleep statements in here so that it kind of takes a second, mimicking the idea that it's downloading something. You know, people, I don't want it to wait too long, but I don't want it to go too fast, right? It's all about the timing with these things. So I put some sleep statements and then just echoes out these stars, kind of giving it the idea of progress is being done. I don't know how to make progress bars and stuff in PowerShell, nor did I care. This was things I knew off the top of my head, so that's what I did. And then, oh, looks, now we're starting the update process. And then again, sleep, 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 sleep. And that brings us down to here. Now, you'll notice that these are starting with this lovely Octothorpe. I have to call it an Octothorpe. My mind won't let me not. Calling it a hashtag seems ingenuous because that's not what we're using it for. Pound sign has also been a known name for that symbol right there. That this thing, that is technically called an Octothorpe, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know my pretentiousness knows no bounds. just that's what it's called. So a hashtag doesn't. I'm not using it as a hashtag, so why would I call it a hashtag? But that's what that is. I've got some odd stuff going. I'm just creating a variable, and then this is the variable string. What the heck is that? Now, these were iterations that I went through when I was messing with different computers and testing and stuff. I didn't want to delete them because I might want to use them again. So for my intents and purposes, they're still there. You can completely disregard anything that starts with an Octothorpe. Forget it's there. This is the actual money right here for this machine, right? So this is kind of a pointed attack, at least because that's where I would have to have a permanent attack server, like a C2 server, that kind of thing. Otherwise, I would have to continually modify this script, as I have done. And you'll notice, especially from like this string right here, it's kind of letting the ghost. This is all base64 encoded strings. Whoa, what's going on with the base64 encoded strings? Well, lots of good stuff. Fun things, hopefully had by all. And I can show you what that does. So you'll notice it says A1 and R1 variable names, and those will make sense here in just a second. So let me start with A1. I'm just going to grab that base64 and copy that. Let's go. I'm going to open another terminal, go full screen. Hello. So hard to hit that tiny little box. Bing, 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 bing. And I will echo dash in. Yeah, I don't need a dash in. And I'll just paste that in and pipe that to base64-D to decode it. And there we go. There's the base64 encoded string. Base64 is a great obfuscation, at least from what I understand. So that's what I did. I encoded this with base64. I wrote this out. So how did you do that? It's real easy, actually. So you would do echo. I always do a dash in so it doesn't throw a new line on the end of it. And then in there, I would say invoke. Is that what I did? K, whatever, dash expression, so on and so forth, right? So, oh man, my typing is horrible. Like new dash object net.web clients bam.download. You know what it is? My microphone is in the way. Download string, and then whatever it is, http:/evil.com/wicked, you know, or I guess this is A1/A1, bam. And then close it out, pipe that to base64, right? So I'm just grabbing all that stuff, echoing it is the input into base64, and then it'll give you a base64 encoded string. Simple, straightforward, little, yellow, different, different. For those of you that get that reference, you're old, because I'm old. There you go. Let's see here. So now that we have that, now that I know where I got that, this is what's important. So I'm invoking expression, right? So I'm downloading, and we're seeing, what is it downloading? It's downloading the A1 file. This :8000 is just telling it this is the port that the server is listening on. It's not the standard 80. I could change that, but I didn't, so there you go. Okay, so it's downloading A1. Let's go back. Hello. Where am I? There we go. And then we have the same thing. It's another download string. You'll notice that these strings are basically SW, SW5, W5, WT2, T, blah, 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 blah. There's very little difference in the output to this because one's downloading A1, the other one's downloading R1, and I'm saving that in a variable. So this is a base 64 encoded PowerShell command to download a file from my attack server on port 8000, and those files are called A1 and R1. Fun, isn't it? You can see why this took me a minute to get this to work, because all the just keeping it logically squared away was not easy, that's for sure. Then I started doing some other stuff. This stuff actually doesn't do anything. I was trying to do some other obfuscations. Honestly, I was trying to make this more complicated than it needed to be because I was learning about obfuscation, so I wanted to try everything I could. So what I'm doing here, just so that you know, again, another base 64 encoded string, which is the PowerShell -nop-seek stuff, right? And then I'm referencing what I want from here as like an array, okay? So it's just grabbing that as an array, going for the 28th character. It didn't work, so I stopped messing with it. It doesn't mess up the script, so I didn't worry about it. All right, more echo, right, sleep, and then, hey, once it's downloaded these two files, you are complete. And then it's going to do some decoding, right? Because it's converting from base 64. Obviously, the P2 doesn't really do anything because I never call it again. It just created another variable. That is the decoded version of this, of I guess, this variable. But A1 and R1 actually do stuff, right? That's where it gets busy. That's where good stuff happens. And what happens is, and you can see A1, right? It's decoding that base 64 encoded string, and then it's throwing this echo update A1, right? And then piping that into PowerShell. So it's going to take that invoke. So what's it going to do? Remember, this is on the victim device, right? This is what's happening here. It's going to run PowerShell, no op, dash. This is a way to get around if there's restrictions, if you're in a restricted environment, like I think we are, right? So if I open PowerShell and I do, what is it? Get, oh man, I'm trying to think. It's get policy, get execution policy, and you notice it says restricted, which means I should not be able to run PowerShell scripts. So that's a bypass for that. So we can get around that action. Let's close that up. All right. So then it's going to echo update R1, which is whatever's in there. So actually it starts off with, we don't know what A1 and R1 is yet. I guess that'd be the next thing to go. And then, so we'll finish this out and we'll look at A1 and R1. It's going to throw PowerShell. You notice it says Windows style hidden, so it doesn't pop up a box. Kind of does this as a background process. Don't forget the little guy there at the end, little dash just there. Going to need that. You notice it's here as well. Okay, so what the heck is A1 and R1? Well, we know that these are download strings for the files A1 and R1, but now that we know this, mousepad, get out of my way. We need to take a look at the actual files, A1 and R1. Let's start with A1. I'll just cat that. No, I'll go to mousepad because it'll overscroll. Mousepad A1. So here we go. Whoa, what's happening here? A lot of crazy weird stuff in here, but basically what this is an amsibypass, right? I have an episode on amsibypass. And it is, where's it? Yeah, here, bang. Now, you can watch that and learn a little bit more about this. We looked at this, and that's where I got that from, was when I was learning about amsibypass, which says don't shovel this stuff to Defender. Tell Defender, don't worry about this. Just run it. I'm not 100% sure on whether or not this is actually working, to be honest with you. I know that this runs, but I don't know if there's like sub-shelling happening. Just don't know enough about PowerShell, honestly, to tell you whether or not this is actually effective. So I also did some obfuscation and weird stuff to R1. So this is meant to do an amsibypass to stop Windows Defender from actually seeing the invoking of these scripts and stopping it. And then if we mousepad R1, this is also, so this is a PowerShell reverse shell. So if you need to create a network socket connection and pass information between it, this right here will do that. Unfortunately, Windows Defender says, "What are you doing? What's that you got there? You're trying to do something bad there," and you'll get popped, right? Because if I just tried to run it normally, because you'll say, "What do you mean normally?" Well, you notice I've got some obfuscations in here, upper and lower case, right? Mixed casing. I also have some of these double quotes that we talked about earlier, just throwing some obfuscation at it so it doesn't look like the thing that it's trying to stop. And you can change it. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. You can change where you put the what do you call it? Upper and lower cases. Change that stuff, because eventually this will get popped, especially if things are sending samples and doing that. Windows Defender is doing its job. This will have a signature that Windows Defender will have, and it will stop working. And the more I use it, the more likely that becomes. So it'll be fun to see if it actually runs again. So there you go. You can just do a Google search for, right? Do a Google search. I do have this up and running. Yeah, this is where I was grabbing the file. But if I go to Google and I type in PowerShell reverse shell one-liner, you can see I've been here as a GitHub repository. Let's see what they have. All right, and then you can look for PowerShell, and there it is. All right, so you just grab this, or you hit the clipboard button. It's just a whole lot easier. And you paste it in, perform some obfuscations. That is what I did. All right, don't need you. Let's go back. All right, so now that we know what that is, it's basically just creating that reverse shell, piping things through that shell, things like the input and output, as well as the prompt. You can see that, where's that at? So scan, blah, 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 blah. So there's data right there, right? 2 and 1, that kind of stuff. That's saying send that information forward and back. There's the send back equals PowerShell plus PWD and the path. So it's building the PowerShell prompt that you should see as you use it, as you saw at the beginning of this episode. All right. So really cool. Throw that stuff in there, do some obfuscation, and now all should be well in the world. If everything works, you have yourself a reverse shell. Now, how does this work? You'll notice down here it's been kind of sitting in the dark all by its lonesome. I have a Python 3 HTTP server running on port 8000, ready and waiting to receive web requests, because that's an easy way to do it. If you're running Apache or Nginx, that's fine as well. Just serve it up in some way, shape, or form, and make sure that all the way that it is being served is reflected in your script, right? And then you open a listener, right? So netcats, nvlp on, I use port 443. Now, why do I do that? Let's try, there we go. So put my password in. I don't have netcat installed. Well, that's just dumb. So I don't have ncat installed. I have netcat, the original, installed, which is fine. I'll just sudo nc-nvlp on 443. Now, another reason I didn't go with a hack port like 4444 or 9999 or whatever, right, is because those are typically used for that type of activity, and it's well known. Also, 443 is normal traffic, so it's unlikely that the egress firewall is blocking traffic over port 443. Making sense? Making sense, right? Another reason that I would probably want to change this from being on port 8000 to port 80, just in case that's being blocked by the Windows firewall or some other firewalling option. Okay. Now what? Well, I'm gonna do this just so we can see this all happen in real time. I'm gonna Control-C, clear, and then just start it again. That way we can see everything as it goes. If all this stuff goes as according to plan, we should have a shell. All right. Hi, this is Billy with your MSSP. I've been working with Tom in your IT department, and we've had a little issue with getting your computer up to date, and we want to make sure that those nasty hackers out there are unable to exploit your device and gain access to your sensitive information. We'd hate to see that happen with you. I've been working on this really, really hard, and I really appreciate your support. I'm gonna need your help on this. So are you ready to help me out? Yes, I'm totally ready. Great, I'm so glad to hear it. So I'm gonna send you an email. It's gonna have a script in it. All you gotta do is double click the script, and it will reach out to the update server. It should grab the latest updates and install them. All you should have to do is update them. You just let me know if there's any errors, okay? Okay, no problem. I'm having fun. All right, double click. Yay, okay, it says preparing system for update. And then it says now it's starting the update process. And now update process is complete. Did you receive any errors? No, I didn't receive any errors. That's great. Now, if you double click it and it tells you, this is an unknown application, just make sure there should be an options button or some more details, and that'll give you the ability to just kind of run past it. It's just because it's a custom script that's giving you that. Oh, okay, no problem. Awesome. Well, it looks like, let's see here. Let me just take a look and see if the updates are showing up on your system. Oh, let's see here. Yep. Oh man, that is great. Everything looks like it's finally working. Man, I put some hours into this. I really appreciate your help. Hey, no problem. Glad to be there for you. Well, thanks, and you have yourself a nice day. Click, and yay. I don't have ID. Who am I? Cool. I am logged in as Lenovo, or Sally, or Billy, or whoever this person was I was talking to. And I can do, net user, Lenovo. Oh, great. It does look to seem that all is well in the world. I can now backdoor this thing, do whatever I want. I've got that access, and we can see where it actually grabbed all the scripts and ran them. And what's cool is none of that got written to disk. This is all fileless, except for the update script. That's the only thing that's a file. And there's no maliciousness to it at all. It's just downloading a file. It's up to Windows Defender to verify whether or not that file is, and it doesn't never write it to disk. It just executes it in memory, right? So that's why it's not really getting popped by Windows Defender. It doesn't write anything. It all just executes in the memory space, also known as FILELESS malware. That's how this works. And that's what I was interested in, was seeing how that went down and learning a little bit more about those obfuscations, because I was getting popped by Windows Defender until I made enough obfuscations and modifications to my code that it stopped complaining. And yeah, there you go. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked that. I hope it answers the questions. I will upload these things into a GitHub repo and put the link in the description below so that you can look at that a whole lot easier and kind of mess with it and create your own, modify what you see, make it better, because I'm sure that is not the best way to do all this stuff. And there's probably errors and things of that nature where it could have been done better. But that's just my fumbling around with trying to learn this, and hopefully I can pass some cool information on to you. Now you can mess with this stuff. So if you're on a red team engagement, or you're doing a pen test, and you're trying to bypass any kind of, restrictions that you might be bumping into, maybe this will help you out with that. So cool stuff. I hope you thought it was cool. I sure had a good time showing it to you and building it. Honestly, it was really frustrating, but a lot of fun once it's actually working, and very, very cool. And this machine is completely up to date with its Windows Defender. Everything is turned on. All the alarm systems are on this machine right now. You can either believe me or not. I'm not going to jump into the machine and prove it to you. It is. As of the recording right now, this thing is up to date, and it is getting by it without issues. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to have some good stuff for you coming up in the future, so keep on a lookout for that. Until next time, keep hacking.